Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and we're doing another Sudsy recap tonight. I meant to do one last night, but I was so exhausted from work that I just passed out before I finished watching the shows. But I'm done watching last week's General Hospital. So, in a nutshell, General Hospital, right? Okay. First of all, even though she was really front burner last week, we didn't see too much of Nell. I mean, the thing is that General Hospital. Okay, so wait, before we go into General Hospital, every week, I get Soap Opera Digest and I read Soap Opera Digest. And there's this one columnist who's in there. She's actually kind of one of the people that inspired me to do this show, along with my grandmother, of course. But her name is Carolyn Hinsey, and I pretty much agree with her on almost everything. Not quite everything. There are a couple of things that we disagree on, but for the most part, I agree with her. And I love that I am starting to really get where they're coming from when they write the magazine about the shows. Like, I get it. I get it. So it's great. And one of they did this past week, they came out with an issue where they were talking about the best and worst of the shows. And it literally, if you look through all the old Sudsy recaps, it's going to be basically just like reading this list, because they nailed every single thing. There are a couple of things I don't agree with, but for the most part, they really just agreed every single thing that I agreed that I have said. So I loved it. So one of the things that I said, well, actually, one of the things that they have said is that the most improved show is General Hospital. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, because General Hospital has always been pretty great. But a lot of the worst things that they had was Days of Our Lives. And I kind of agree with that too. But Days of Our Lives does show signs of getting better. It was just in a really crappy place for a long time. And I think that is not helped by their crazy shooting schedule 6 months ahead of time. They're the only ones that's like that. It's a little bit weird. Anyways, they said that no one paces out their stories like General Hospital, and they're right. That's why, like, this week, there wasn't really a strong front burner story this week, because there was lots of those little stories that were taking up the time this week. One of the stories was about Nell, and how, last week Nell was really front and center, but now she really kind of isn't. But we still see that she has some sort of plan against Carly, and she's gonna get Carly for some reason. We still don't know what any of this means, but we saw that. Hayden and Finn, they didn't have too much this past week, but Hayden was, shaking, and she's, what that reminded me of? It reminded me of way back in the day, like, I don't know, maybe like 25 years ago. I know. Well, okay. 25 years ago, Scott Baldwin, he was a much better character than he is now. Now he's really just comic relief. And back in the day, he was a real romantic leading man, and he had a wife named Dominique, and this was one of the saddest moments on soaps. I swear to God, I'm pathetic, but a lot of the moments that really shaped kind of who I am and who I've become have been on soaps. And one of the moments was that Dominique died of a brain tumor, and she died I'll never forget the scene. She died in Scotty's arms just as the snow was starting to fall, and it was the most saddest, most romantic. It was just, I was bawling in tears. Horrible. And then not long after that, then Nora on One Life to Live got a brain tumor wrapped around her optic nerve, which made her go blind, which Todd, who now plays Franco on General Hospital, Todd then kind of went crazy and went after her, and then they all ended up becoming friends. I don't know. That was many years later, but still, that's a little crazy. But So one of the things that General Hospital, another thing that General Hospital does very well is it plays up on its history. And I have been saying that since the beginning. That's something that like maybe Young and the Restless does not do that well. You know, Young and the Restless, there's all kinds of stuff that happened. Like for example, I know I'm jumping back and forth between shows, but this is important. So back when Jack Abbott on Young and the Restless found out that Chemo was his son with Luann from Vietnam, back when he was a soldier in Vietnam or whatever, you know, he did not flip out about it like he did with Summer when he found out that Summer was his, even though she isn't even really his. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't make, that whole thing didn't make it, he was very out of character, and it felt like whoever was writing for them at that time did not really understand the character of Jack at all. It was really annoying. General Hospital doesn't do that much. General Hospital does a great job of employing its history. So here's an example. So Tracy, here's another storyline, you know, with Tracy and the board, and you know they're kind of related to the Hayden and Finn storyline because they're like, you know, the board wants the Hayden to come to the hospital or else she's fired or whatever, right? Because they're the board who is secretly being manipulated by Julian, which we'll come to in a second. But you know, Tracy's, and we find out, then it all comes out that Elizabeth and Hayden are sisters. And Monica's like, wow, you know, I can't believe that. And Tracy says, yes, your ex-husband, Jeff Weber, isn't quite the innocent angel we thought he was, which is brilliant because a lot of people forget he was married to Monica Quartermain. So that's pretty good. I enjoyed that. Kudos to you, Jane Elliott, a.k.a. Tracy Quartermain. Very good. I love that. And there was another part where Dylan, and this is great because Dylan, even though he wasn't the actor playing Dylan at the time, that was Scott Clifton, who's now playing Liam on Bold and the Beautiful. But he was talking about how Tom Baker was this crazy nut that, you know, and Emily Quartermain, and how he blackmailed Emily Quartermain, and, you know, saying that he was going to post her photo on to porn websites and blah, blah, blah. Even though she didn't have porn, he was going to Photoshop her head onto someone else's body, whatever, right? And, you know, he's like, you know, Monica goes out to the mortuary and she's always laying flowers on her grave. But here's one bone of contention I have with that. Does she do that for her daughter Dawn? Because she gave birth to Dawn. She didn't give birth to Emily. She adopted Emily because Emily's mother had this some kind of cancer, and I think it might have even been breast cancer, and then she died from it, and she left Emily to Monica, and Monica took Emily, and Emily became a Quartermain, but she wasn't born a Quartermain. Well, neither was Dawn, but Dawn was physically Monica's child, so that's the one thing. And Dawn is now played by Sharon, well, was played by Sharon Case, who's now playing Sharon on Young and the Restless. I'm telling you, soaps, if you can get a job in soaps, you are working for life. I mean, no joke. Some of these people have been doing this forever. So, and they're really good too. There's no one that has been working for 30 years that I'm going, well, there aren't that many people that are working for 30 years that I'm going, how do they still have a job, right? There are a couple. Anyways, so that's a great way that General Hospital uses its past. Like, they've done that before, too, with, like, Anna and Duke. Anna reminiscing about memories of Duke to Duke's son, Griffin, you know, who's never met his father. So it's just brilliant. It's really, really well done. So even though there wasn't any, like, one story, like, there was also a story this week where Lulu suspects that Charlotte is her child, one of the last frozen embryo that she had, right? And we find out that that's true, but she thought it was, you know, they're not sure who the father is now, because they thought it would be Stavros. Now they find out it could be Valentine. You know, so that came out this past week, as well as, let's see, Uh, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. But anyways, General Hospital, really good this week. So if you can, check it out and also pick up this week's issue of Soap Opera Digest. Thank you so much for logging on. Hopefully in about an hour, I'll do Vanderpump Rules. I'm going to get caught up. And then hopefully after that, Bold and Beautiful. Take care, everyone. Peace out. Have a wonderful night. Wubba, wubba, wubba.